Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. The time when we have loads of fun in the neighborhood. I'll tell you why. Because today was really stressful. You got up, you went and voted, and now you're waiting for your ballots and the results. So we're going to just have some fun and just sit and talk. And like I said earlier today, we have some really cool people in our city and surrounding our city. And I've always wanted to introduce like these amazing people that I come across. Started Decatur FM. I got an email from this gentleman that says, "Hey, you know, we checked you out. We'd love to come on, and we'd love for you to check out our music." Right? I did some searching and found out that their music was pretty gnarly. Right? It was pretty. They're laughing. Right? They're called Collins Drive. And I'd like to welcome them to Decatur FM. Guys, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And, just so we can go around and introduce everybody real quick, let's start from right to left. Start with the main man.
All right. My name's Don, and I'm the singer and guitar player
Yes.
for Collins Drive.
All right.
Hey, I'm Allison. I play bass and backup vocals.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Luis, and I am a newborn. I'm the drummer. I just joined the band. How long
Yay,
ago?
Luis.
Yeah, how long ago did you join, Luis?
We've had like 3 rehearsals. I can't hear myself in the headphones. Is that a problem?
No,
cool.
no. We got to just turn you up.
As long as everybody else can hear me, I can
Can
care.
you hear yourself?
I listen to myself talk all the time.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we
Is that
go.
better? I just needed to turn you up a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. So Luis, I think we've had like 3 rehearsals so far.
Yeah.
And he was just the right guy that we needed. Our previous drummer had to leave, and Allison and I have been partners in this for a while, 5 years, and
Right.
we kind of didn't know where we were going to go, and it was very serendipitous.
So, Collins Drive is American folk rock.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say it's like Americana roots rock. It's got a little bit of folk in it, but we're starting to realize that the folk element is starting to lean more towards the folk rock
Right.
side of things as we've, gone electric.
Okay, okay, I got you. So I read a little bit on the EPK, but a lot of times I don't want to just give out the info. I like to hear it, obviously, from you guys, and I'd like you to obviously introduce yourself to the neighborhood and to the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who inspires the band? Like what, because we're going to do this really cool, like you should see it in here, guys. Like it's just straight up like, I'm like a roadie right now. Like they've got, no, seriously, like we're really going to have a rock out session tonight. But, so I can give everybody an idea of what to look forward to as they sit comfortably in their chairs and they listen to us on Alexa or on their mobile phone or online. Who inspires the band musically?
I'll let Allison answer
Yeah,
first.
Allison, answer that question.
What? I was gonna let the singer songwriter answer that question.
All right.
I don't know if I can answer from the singer songwriter perspective, because I know that Don is influenced by Tony Joe White,
Yeah.
by Drive By Truckers,
Yeah.
by Kevin Kenny of Driving and Crying.
Mm-hmm.
And you would name some of your 70s influences, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
70s, 80s, 70s.
yeah.
60s.
60s and 70s, I kind of grew up listening, my father was a big fan of the Laurel Canyon
Okay.
folk scene,
Yeah.
which is really more of a rock.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty much the birth of folk rock.
Right.
It was Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Joni Mitchell, and
and I think when we
acts like
talked, I said, when I hear folk, the first thing I think of is Joni Mitchell, right?
right, yeah,
But it's obviously like what you guys have done, kind of has evolved from a Joni Mitchell type record.
No, it's very true. I mean, when I first started playing, folk music, probably about 22. So I played heavy metal music and punk music like as a kid,
Right.
as a teenager,
Yeah.
and I discovered, I really just discovered folk music probably around like 94 or 95 or so, and fell in love with it, and what I started to realize was that folk music to me was kind of like rock music. Like you could say rock, but there were so many different layers to it.
Right.
But if you told somebody folk, someone would pigeonhole you into like so you're like James Taylor, or you're so. But then if you started to kind of broaden the term, like Americana, roots rock, folk rock, more people seemed to get it. So it covered more of a ground of like anything from Tom Petty and Tony Joe White, like Allison said, Driving and Crying, Drive-By Truckers. But then again, at the same time, even hearkening back to the like late '60s and the '70s. I'm a huge David Crosby fan. I love the Byrds. So Graham Parsons.
Yeah.
But growing up in the South was the biggest influence on the sound that I was looking for, that ended up projecting as a band.
I think, one thing I find amazing is the derivatives of rock, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like you take that basic sound of rock and you layer it. Because, you came in here, we were talking about Kitty Rose, and our conversation was rockabilly, right? So it's like rock music and hillbilly music, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like a layer of it. And then, like, as we started going down that rabbit hole and talking about it some more, it's like she was talking about how like rockabilly has so many different avenues as well. Like, you have people in Asia that are doing rockabilly, and I was like, what? Like, what does that sound like? So does Americana folk rock, like, does it expand in that way? Like, there's Southern, right? Because your EPK, your press kit talks about how your songs are like, there's no kind of like hidden messages. It's just like, it's just music for you to connect to. Talks about Southern living, right? But could you do, like, what does folk rock in the North sounds like, or is there such a thing, or is there folk rock in the West?
It's kind of funny because there is a kind of excuse me. There's a difference in sounds within the genre. I used to say that if Crosby, Stills and Nash and the Eagles and stuff like that were like the West Coast, the East Coast would be more like, or at least the Southeast would be more like Driving and Crying, or even older bands like oh gosh, I'm dulling myself, like even
Joe
like
South.
the Allman Brothers Band, things like that. Because
sure.
Even the Allman Brothers, to an extent, like if you had someone from up north or from the West Coast here, the Allman Brothers, they would call them country or like a hillbilly band, right? Whereas like here in the Southeast, like the Allman Brothers were like as liberal as you could get.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they were like, so there is a difference, but I think with the advent of the internet and with the different avenues of music being able to reach other places, you're getting Southern rock being played in Ontario, and like a friend of mine who was in the military years ago told me he was in Korea and saw one of the best Grateful Dead cover bands he'd ever seen in his entire life.
Korean.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we talked about. We're like, whoa, are you serious?
And he was just like, and the guys couldn't speak a lick of English, but like they knew
word for word.
They knew every Grateful Dead song. He asked the guy, they were like, oh, their English was broken. But the guy was like, we learned our English by learning Grateful Dead songs, and the guy was like, how many songs do you know? He goes, oh well, we only know 180 right now, but we're. And he was just like,
more than I know, right? Like what are you saying to me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of interesting where even there was that great documentary that came out a couple of years ago. It was Searching for Sugar Man.
Yeah.
The story of
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Right? And
Sixto Rodriguez.
Yes, and he was this like guy who like flopped here in the States and then became a legend.
Yeah.
In like where
South Africa.
Was it South Africa?
He was basically the soundtrack of that revolution that ended apartheid and all that. He inspired a generation, basically.
Why have I never heard of that?
He was their Bob Dylan, basically.
What's
Yes.
the name of the documentary?
It's called Searching for
Searching for-
Sugar
oh,
Man.
I got
Sugar Man, yes.
I got to definitely. I love stuff like that. I actually, my wife and I watched the one documentary of muscle shows.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, just I mean, we've watched that time and time again, and could watch it like over and over again. So I love stuff like that.
I always like to say that Allison's kind of like my my Muscle Shoals bassist.
Like your music comes from the mud.
Yeah, she could have been part of the she could have been part of the Wrecking Crew. Like,
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you're that amazing?
I don't know about that.
Do it. Do something right now. I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. I
Sorry
want
about
something.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Come on. Here's a taste of what you got coming, guys.
See, I can hear that. All right.
There you go.
All
There
right.
you go.
All right, so it goes on and on and on. But you know, I am definitely. I would say if I think that it's less Muscle Shoals and maybe more Wrecking Crew.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely say more Wrecking Crew.
More Wrecking Crew because before I played bass, I was a trumpet player.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Wow.
so I feel more. I have an affinity for melody.
Okay. Well, we can tell.
And I love Carol Kay. And Carol Kay has that affinity for melody, so I think I relate to that.
What made you go from trumpet to bass?
To bass? I don't know. It just happened. It just happened naturally. I went from high school. I played trumpet all the way through. Then I went to college and didn't play in the band in college, which I deeply regret.
Yeah.
And then after college, I picked up guitar, and then after that, bass.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, my wife just sent me a text. She said we did watch the Sugar Man documentary.
Oh.
I obviously don't remember that, so I have to go back and watch it again. Maybe
Must
it's one
have
of
been a good night for you.
It must have. I obviously was on the couch doing something, falling asleep. I have to actually go back and actually really watch it this time. So, why don't we get into some music real quick from you guys? Not playing, not yet. Something to look forward to. Before I do though, let's talk about what is the current album right now.
So the current album is called "This Town of Mine."
Yeah.
And it's actually a lyric from one of the songs on the album, which is a song called "I Wish I Could Run Away."
Okay.
And basically, the concept of it, we like this. We liked this idea of being able to pull an album title from a song lyric for some reason, and it just seems to kind of encapsulate us a little bit, because we kind of are like the painted picture of a local band, in a town,
I love it.
and like kind of this is our town, and
Yeah.
this is like where we live and where we play, and so it's a collection of what we think is some of our best material so far, and we're super proud of it, and we just want people to hear it and just to hear our stories, and
Rock on. Well, let's get into it right now. I wish I could run away. Collins Drive is in the building right here on Decatur FM. We'll be right back, guys.
Wish I could run away and leave it all behind. kicking stones into the muddy hall. Said, hey man, where you going? A young man asked of me. I said, just carry me out west and leave me be. Wish I could run away and leave it all behind. 'Cause sometimes I feel so trapped in this life of mine. Just another fool who tried to seize the day. I tried to hitch my way to California, but no one was going my way. Guess I'll head back home and have a glass of tea with my guitar and whatever's left of me. Guess I'll close my eyes and dream myself away from this muddy old Haw River where I lay. Where I lay. Where I lay. Where I lay.
It's Decatur FM. We are any and everything Decatur. I wish I could run away from Collins Drive, and they are live in the studio. Gerard, what do you think, man?
I love it, man.
It's
Mellow,
good, right?
Nice and mellow.
Yeah, I love it, man. This is awesome. And we're sitting here talking about how, like, you know, it's always great to hear the stories on how, like, the band members actually joined the band. And Luis is over there talking about how, well, actually, it's a funny story. He said that that's, you know, he's from Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
And he said that, you know, honestly,
See,
music,
See,
See,
we, and we're actually here talking, and he said that music is actually the way you actually learned English.
that's right.
You know.
I just fell in love with music since I have memory. I can remember me loving music, and I started listening to all salsa records and all the local music. But then, when I was maybe 10, 11, I discovered rock, and it was over. I got me a paper route because my parents wouldn't buy me tapes because that was the devil's music. So I would go and buy me my Slayer tapes, and I taught myself English basically, you know, from reading the lyrics
Right.
and finding out, hey, what does this mean? What is this? And that's how I got it.
Awesome story, man.
Became
And-
second nature, basically.
And then the story on how they met. Don, go ahead. You guys tell. No, I mean, because we just said that he's the newest member, but like, let's tell the story because after this we're doing a rock out session. So
So well, while I'm thinking about that, Allison, you need to be thinking about what we want to play. So,
Why put that on me?
because the messed up part was we were actually going to play I Wish I Could Run Away. But,
See, that's what you get when you said the host can pick.
but you know what? We'll play it again.
Yeah, we'll
be-
figure it out.
We'll do the live version.
You know,
The B-side.
you know, we'll do. I mean, we'll be like the Blues Brothers. We'll just play like Rawhide and Stand by Your Man all night long. You know, so,
Yes.
but no,
Funny.
Luis was actually a really interesting a character. He was a good friend of mine outside of the band because we have a common bond and love for all things heavy metal music and concerts and
Jellyfish.
and
Yeah.
so like
What's that all about?
so we have this broad palette of everything from like Testament and Slayer to like 90s pop rock, you know, like Jellyfish, Gin Blossoms type stuff,
Okay.
you know. And so we kind of bonded over that, but he started coming out to all our shows just, you know, because he was a friend of mine, and I said, hey, you should come check out our band. And you know, the first time he came out, I figured, okay, that was a nice gesture. The second time he came out, I'm like, okay, he's a glutton for punishment. Third time he came out, I'm like, all right, this is getting kind of creepy. Because,
I was gonna say.
like he's
Right.
actually liking us, and
Right.
so we were kind of shocked about that. And then at our album release party in September, he came up to us and he gave.
Real quick, where was it at?
It was at a Red Light Cafe.
Okay, gotcha.
On Amsterdam. Which,
Okay.
by the way, shout out to Red Light Cafe because they are like our home. They
Okay.
treat us so good whenever we play there.
Right.
And but Luis came up and gave us probably the biggest compliment someone's ever given me, and that was he told us that our music takes him places, and that whenever he watches us play, he just feels good. And he said he hadn't played music for a while, and he said, when I start playing music again, I think this is the kind of music I want to play.
Sure.
And so I was like, God, like I went home with that, you know, and like in my heart and in my mind, and as a songwriter,
Yeah.
you know, you can't. I mean, no award, no nothing is greater
Connection.
than that,
Yeah.
you know,
Connection.
and that's all I strive to do. And so I remember laying at home in bed, just trying to get it out of my mind so I could go to sleep.
Thinking about me?
Yeah.
Now that's creepy. Now that is bottom line creepy.
I was laying in bed thinking of Luis.
Hey,
saying
listen,
sweet
not
nothings to us.
not to get off the subject, but so last night I had like an amazing author in the studio, and we did a one-on-one interview, right? And she does a lot of romance novels. And as a guy, I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to read a romance
I heard
novel,
some of that
Right.
last night,
So
yeah.
she convinced me that I'm going to. So maybe you guys. So what we decided tonight is that we're going to start a bromance book club. And maybe you and Luis can be part of the bromance.
Count me in.
Dude, count. Dude.
Yes.
We can all read romance novels and just come back,
come back and
you
talk
guys,
about
we
them.
can just talk about it. We can write love songs.
As long as Luis can be carrying me on a beach on like a pictorial,
Oh
you know,
my God.
like my hair blowing in
Just
the wind.
blowing in the wind. Not to get off
Your
the side.
beard blowing
My
in the
Your
beard
beard
blowing in the wind.
blowing in the wind. I thought that was funny. But anyway, go ahead. So,
But no, so anyway, so it essentially was a bromance because
Right.
we've always joked about that. Is that
Right.
we became very good friends,
Right.
and like I said, 2 days after our album release, our drummer had to part ways with us due to personal circumstances, and Allison and I were talking, and she goes, you need to call Luis and find out if he really meant what he said, or like if he was just being nice,
Right,
you know. And
right.
so in my mind, I'm thinking like, how do you actually come out and say that to somebody? So finally, I just called Luis up and I said, dude, did you really mean that? You know? And he's like, oh, absolutely. I was like, well, that's ironic because our drummer just quit. Would you like to jam with us? And he was like, yes.
Sure,
And so we were like,
absolutely.
and he was like, what'd you say?
Let's rock.
Yeah, he
Let's rock,
said that.
yeah.
He
Let's
said,
rock.
He was like, let's rock. Give me a week and give me 5 songs to learn. And so we gave him 2 weeks, and he learned like 7 songs, and we got together, and we listened to them, and we were like, I think it actually sounded better than our first gig, which was hilarious.
well, guess what? Now's his time to shine to see how he really rocks. So, Luis, you ready? Because we're getting ready to
All right.
We're getting
Do
ready to
it,
do some
baby.
really cool unplugged stuff right here. You know, we've done it before. We're going to do it again. You guys, what are we going to play?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. Allison, you should have been thinking about this the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what we can do is we can do this. There's a song. Let me make sure I'm at the. Yeah, here we go. There's actually a song, a kind of a genre of music that they call murder ballads.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Murder ballads.
And they actually started like very early on. It was like Johnny Cash, even earlier than that. But Johnny Cash had a song called "The Long Black Veil,"
Okay.
which is basically just basically a song of just woe, a guy being put to death. You know. And,
Okay.
I always wanted to write a murder ballad, and so what I did was I was trying to find, because I mean, like, I have a great life, like my life is awesome, so
Right.
so to try to find a way to connect with these kinds of stories.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I took a mixture of Long Black Veil, and there's an old traditional song called the Columbus Stockade Blues, which
Okay.
is similar,
Yeah.
and I wrote a song called Prison Story, which is a very self-explanatory song.
It sounds pretty.
And so it's pretty dark, but it's a crowd favorite when we play it.
All right.
Our audiences generally like it a lot. So
Here it is, guys, on Decatur FM. Enjoy.
It's Christmas Eve. The snow is falling down. At least that's what I heard the guard say. Their eyes fixed upon me as they carry on and smile at a man facing his final day. What would make a man lose his very soul and take from one his very life? For it was my jealous heart as I smelled him on her hands, met him with the corner of my knife. As I sit in a cell in Columbus, Georgia, a long way from my home in Chapel Hill. Ended up just another prison story, not regretting the man I had to kill. Well, I can hear the priest coming down the walkway. He tells me that God understands. I asked him what kind of God would ever make a woman seek comfort in the arms of another man. When they come and take me, bound in all my shackles, and strap me to that dreaded electric chair. When they pull the curtains for eyes to gaze upon me, well, I look up and see you crying there. As as I sit in a cell in Columbus, Georgia. Long way from my home in Chapel Hill. Ended up just another prison story. Not regretting the man I had to kill. Not regretting the man I had to kill.
That was pretty. Woo! Thank you very much, guys.
Whoa! What's that?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Collins Drive is live in Decatur FM. I'll tell you, man, this couldn't be more perfect.
We haven't heard an audience that loud ever.
You will hear. I'm telling you that. That was awesome, guys.
Oh,
that
thank
was
you.
really, really cool.
Thank you.
So, Don, tell me. So you you write a blog.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So I grew up listening to hard rock and heavy metal music.
Yeah.
Just like most people, most people my age, like, we're the same age, so
Yeah.
like you didn't have all these like split roads of music, like you were either into, you had like hip hop, you had pop rock, and you had like hard rock and metal, it was like pretty simple, it was radio oriented rock, or it was hip hop, or like your parents, Julio Iglesias albums, and that definitely wasn't going to happen, No offense to Julio, because I mean the dude.
Oh, hey, listen.
Hey,
Julio
man.
was the man.
Legend.
Dude,
Yeah.
Julio was like.
Yeah.
Let's just say my dad took my mom to a Julio Iglesias concert, and it was never the same.
It was over.
Yeah,
It was over.
It was never the same for my dad in a bad way.
Siblings were born. Siblings were born on that album, and if they weren't, she left them for Julio. But anyway,
Seriously.
but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, so so I really, I have a passion for music just in general, and I have a certain passion for a certain style of hard rock and metal music, which is mostly rooted in the 80s. And when I started to discover that there was a whole new run of bands that were kind of coming out that were playing this kind of older sound of hard rock and metal that I grew up with, I got excited about it, and I started writing about them. And so I started doing a blog as a way to not just like promote them, but to get like free tickets to concerts and stuff, so I can do reviews and hang out with bands and hang out on tour buses and stuff. And but it's been fun. I've been doing it for 9 years, and but it's also been an incredible way for me to broaden my palette of music, because again, like we were talking about with folk music or with like Americana music, heavy metal music has a very broad spectrum of music. I mean, everything from the heavier stuff like death metal and things like that, which I don't particularly like. But then you get stuff. Luis is over there pumping his fist because that's his stuff.
Metallica.
Oh, heavier than that, man. Luis likes bands that like you can't even read the logo. You can't read the band name because the logo looks like a pile of sticks.
Yeah.
There's
nothing but a skull and sticks everywhere.
It's just like sticks and blood dripping off of it.
Yeah.
It's like a worn out leather chair.
Right.
It looks like the back of a worn out leather chair.
So
exactly.
you've enjoyed doing the writing for this blog, and enjoyed obviously the meeting of these bands and getting influenced. Now, does a lot of that translate into your music? What I mean by that is, do you find yourself like being influenced by certain genres in your writing, maybe in the style, or maybe changing the style a little bit for your own sound at all?
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. I mean, because first and foremost, I always considered myself a writer.
Yeah.
More than a musician.
Sure.
Even though like when I started playing guitar, it wasn't until I started writing songs that I felt like I had really found my thing, you
Yeah.
know. So to me, playing guitar was just a vehicle for my writing,
Yeah.
you know. And so it's really interesting. I even did a folk EP a couple of years ago of all heavy metal songs where I stripped them down to just folk songs.
Yeah.
And people were so surprised by it
Yeah.
because they were like, "Wow, you did like an Iron Maiden song as a folk song, and
That's
it
sick.
worked."
That's sick.
But I
yeah.
was like, but the whole point of that was because what I was trying to get across was that a good written song is a good written song, no matter how it's played.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if it's got good lyrics, it's got good melody, it's got, you know, it tells a story, like regardless of, you know, it might sound like noise to you, but if I
No,
play it on an acoustic guitar, or like for let's say for someone who doesn't really like it, you know,
Right.
like it might sound like noise to somebody, but if you play it on an acoustic guitar,
Totally changes.
it changes
the game. Yeah.
but it doesn't change the song or
Right.
doesn't change the meaning. So as far as my writing, I do pull from bands like Iron Maiden and Graveyard and bands like that where it makes me want to experiment with words that I don't necessarily use or phrases or things like that.
not to gross you out into too mainstream of a thing with music wise, but have you guys ever done? Speaking, I'm just building off of what you just said.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever done like a mainstream record, right? Whether it's pop, R&B, rock, whatever it is, and kind of like flipped it into like a folk type of song, like done a cover and just totally like flipped it?
All of our recordings have been 100% original.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
so,
cool.
But
Because I'm interested in, like what you're saying, like totally like taking a record and just stripping it down and making it, I'm interested to hear, like, and it doesn't, not now, but just whenever, like, obviously we're going to have you guys back. Like, what would that
Oh, I
sound?
love that, by the way.
What?
We have a second date.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is great.
yeah. It ain't, listen,
I'll bring
Luis, don't get
chocolate.
jealous. Don't get jealous, brother. Don't get jealous, okay?
Well, he's
All right.
he's going to be with us anyway.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He'll bring the he'll bring
the
the chocolates.
chocolate.
Right.
But it'd be interesting to hear what that would sound like just from a folk standpoint. Another question I would have, too, as well, is tempo, right, at times.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any Americana, like, that are really, like when you say a jam-out session, right,
Mm-hmm.
is the tempo normally at a certain pace, or is it, can it range? Like, we can get really, like, hey, we're going to jam out, or we can get really, like the record you just did.
Honestly, those are the two that fuel the machine.
Yeah?
I mean, it's really like, they are the ones that really. I mean, we kind of like together as a unit
Mm-hmm.
can decide how we want something to go.
Yeah.
But really, it kind of. I mean, I'm gonna relay that to them because I'm
Yeah.
not the drummer or the bassist. But like Luis, like you know,
It's something that
take it away, Luis.
It's something that has come up in conversation.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm actually looking forward to in the band,
Uh-huh.
which is, to experiment, to, if we need to bring it up a little bit,
Yeah.
bring it up a little bit,
Yeah.
bring a little more energy, but also keeping it dynamic. But I'm looking forward to that. My style of playing has always been very energetic. So to me, this has been a nice challenge to have, meaning that I need to rein it in, keep it basic, just focus on the groove, say more with less,
Yeah.
or by doing less.
Sure.
So I feel that eventually, yes, we will get to bring that foundation and bring that tempo up and experiment a little, But it all depends on how we all feel about it.
That'll be fun to hear.
we'll
That'll be
do
really
it.
fun to
Yeah,
hear.
We'll do it. I mean, our last album was pretty chill
Yeah.
for the most part.
Right.
I mean, and we look at expanding that.
Which I dig. It's just asking and just digging a little bit deeper into the genre. Like, does it exist? And as you guys are saying, like experimenting with that. It's going to be interesting to see how you kind of evolve, because that's what we always do, right? We just evolve into different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I actually have ideas, but we need to spend more time together, and we need to get it going, and then bring it up and see what works, because
there goes the death metal.
Luis is not allowed to have ideas yet.
Yeah, no. Listen, Luis, I'm not part of the band, and you're not allowed to have ideas yet. No kidding. No kidding.
After the 5th rehearsal,
then you can have ideas.
No, but I was actually thinking about it more in a sense of in a percussive way,
right?
Like bringing a little more minor percussion to the tracks.
Oh, I feel
things
like
that.
This is
like
something
a little,
I'm making.
like a Latino flavor. I mean, not playing salsa music, but bringing that kind of make people shake their booties when we play and things like that.
Absolutely.
Allison actually is so funny. Just a couple days ago, she had mentioned. She said, "You know what?" She said, "Luis really brings this kind of a punchy, like rock feel to it, and like we rehearsed just on Sunday, and we were feeling so good. Like we were all three of us we were all in pretty I can't say cuss words on here. So
No.
We were all in pretty poopy moods here,
Yeah.
and like by the end of the rehearsal, we were just all smiles and toasting beers
That's
and
awesome.
laughing and and that was just such a good a good idea of where this band is at right now. And Allison, the first thing she said, maybe we should cut like a 3 or 4 song EP of just like rock songs.
That's cool.
Just like show
I
that
dig
we
where
can,
you're coming from,
show that
Allison.
we can
I like that.
really rock.
I like that.
know?
I like that.
And the other beautiful part about this kind of music, and we've discussed this as a band, is that unlike most genres of music, even once it's recorded, it's not written in stone.
Right.
Because what you hear on the album is probably one of like 20 ways that we played those songs, like with little subtle change. I mean, like obviously the structure stays the same.
Sure.
But
the different subtleties.
But we don't even play them the same live that we do on the album.
I love that.
Do you know? And so we do kind of love that idea that there's going to be this unity of us kind of putting our minds together and saying, hey, what would it sound like if we threw a horn on here or something, or what would it sound like if like I played like I don't know, what's a percussive instrument? I don't know.
Some congas.
Okay,
timbales.
Timbales.
Just brown it up a little bit.
Brown it up.
Oh yeah.
Give it some sazon.
That's what I'm talking about.
Sazon. That's not a curse word, is it?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you. I'm totally messing with you. He's like, can't say curse words, but I can say sazon.
he's like all cussing in his like native language there.
Yeah.
But no, but that's it.
Dude, that's Spanish. She's like native language.
Did you just say that?
My dialect.
Your dialect, dude. It's so funny. It's like I am the most like liberal like leftist guy.
I'm totally.
But like Lizzie, my wife Lizzie, by the way, if she's here, she'll totally. She sometimes she just shakes her head. She goes, "That's not the right way to say that."
No, believe me, we've all been there. We've all been there. So what are we gonna play next? Allison.
Why y'all asking me?
Well, just because he asked you first.
Yeah. D'Angelo,
well, here's the funny thing was that we actually didn't really practice like an acoustic set because we didn't have time.
Right.
But I mean, like, I don't know. How brave are you feeling?
What can you do on us? Just a snare, Luis. Lady of the Lake.
Oh.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I actually like that record. By the way, so
it's a wonderful song. It's more of our electric version. It'll be interesting to try it acoustic.
Yeah. I can give it a shot.
Well, we've never done it before, but we can give it a try.
It's a Decatur FM exclusive.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And if Luis messes it up, he's fired.
Uh-oh. You're not going to make it to your fifth.
Not really.
I'll just say that I'm new.
Hey, listen. He's a new guy.
I'm new.
All right,
the
guys.
bass level.
It's great.
Yep.
I love it. Yeah, you're perfect.
No.
All right.
And actually, is there a way to take a little bit of his mic out of my headphones?
Yeah,
just a little bit because the brushes were a little hot for me.
Yeah.
That was better.
That?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Maybe a little louder.
Let's go, baby.
You're right here.
All right, so you ready?
Here we go, guys.
First time ever. All right.
Collins Drive on Decatur FM.
our song together. No longer I cry, Lady of the Lake, forever with you. I will
Oh yeah.
I think Luis kept his job on that one.
Yeah, you did.
Oh yeah.
Actually, he was the only one that did made a mistake.
Brother, that was good, man.
Thank you, Luis.
That was good, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Wow.
so much.
I like that
Thank
cut.
you.
That was some, like, you just, like, that was impromptu at its best.
Yeah, yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with as you experiment. Like, this was like partially experimentation.
Actually, it's so funny. It's like I was kind of sweating bullets on the way to pick her up because I realized I said, okay, we ran through briefly one song. I said, and then we know we can do the other one because
Right.
we already do the one with the brushes.
Right.
And then, like an idiot, I told you to play the one song that was the one that we planned to play. And so this was like. Actually, this was I think this was like our audition for Luis because Luis could probably have just been like, "Oh, this is amateur hour. I'm totally
Like,
out of here."
I'm done. Luis, you did good, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
You
it.
did good, man.
You did very good. It was
Guys,
awesome.
this is awesome, man. Like I'm like really excited to like put your music in rotation and hear
Oh, thank
more
you. That means
more
a lot.
experimentation stuff. And you know, I mean, I know we normally we do an hour, and sometimes I feel like an hour isn't enough, and I always extend. Like if I don't say come back, like if you ever listen to the station and you hear me like at the end go, thanks, appreciate it, you ain't coming back, right? so just know that know that as one thing. I mean, I definitely am excited to have you guys as part. And you know, it's you know, Don, you and I talked about this. Like it's just taking it back to like the neighborhoods, the grassroots, like getting in the car and putting all your instruments in there and like let's go play. And you know, it's not the what it is today with, you know, being mainstream and you have to do this and you have to do that. Like let's just really bring back what music stands for now, right?
I think we're very lucky in the sense that we've talked about. We even had this conversation at the last rehearsals that we're all very close in age, you know,
Yeah.
and like very close, like within like 2 to 3 years apart from each other.
Yeah.
Luis being 50, but
51.
51.
Yes.
But
And his hairline's amazing.
I know, dude. I'm totally envious.
Yeah.
Beard envy, actually. But actually, you know, what we've noticed is that, like, you know, even at our age, like, it can still be done this way, and it can still be fun, and like
fun,
you
yeah.
can do it for the sheer pleasure of just artistic.
Just being able to say something.
That's what it's
Enlightenment,
that's
yeah.
what it's
I mean, it's like a form of enlightenment, and like to be invited on a show like this,
Yeah.
Based on just the merit of something that you heard.
Yeah.
Again, like that goes back to what I was telling Allison. I was like, I mean, there's no bigger compliment.
Yeah.
So like when things like this happen, that's success for us, you know.
You know, and I think, not to translate it into anything, you know, crazy as far as what's going on today, but I think one of the things
Please
that,
do.
Well, you know, no. I mean, you know, with today being, you know, obviously a real important day for the country and everything else, it's like we all have to show each other, right, that we can all just communicate and talk regardless of whatever lines, whether that's color, whether that's music, whether that's whatever. Like we can sit, we can enjoy, we can have conversation, and nobody's on a certain team. Like, you know, when you sent me that email, like I had heard of like folk rock and Americana music, but I never really dove into it, right? And I mean, I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for you, like, you know, I would say like, you know, Kitty Rose and all those guys have you to thank, especially for me having them on, because it kind of opened my ears to say, you know what, I need to start having these guys on, and it's all sparked from your email. Like, it
Oh,
was just
man,
like,
I appreciate
I
that.
listened to that, and then Kitty reached out, and I listened to her, and then, you know, I mean, the Bitter Roots called me, and, you know, I've been playing their music, and they're from Decatur, and it's just been, you know, one thing after the next, and it just kind of like, the reason why I started this platform, you know, not only for, you know, musicians and creatives, but for all of us to talk and connect as just regular people. You know what I mean? I don't care if, you know, I mean, you said it earlier, like, you could be, you know, you're real liberal, and like, I could care less about that.
All right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Let's talk, let's rock out, let's jam out, let's be open to ideas. You know, you guys have been together for a long time. He's just joined the band, and he's saying, you know, I'm interested in experimentation. The fact that you're open to that, you know what I mean? It's a bigger picture. And I translate that to what we have just been through and what we're going through, you know, with voting and this, and I don't like this person because of this and that. Like, let's just, you know, let's calm it down, right? Let's talk, and let's just be people again, you know? One thing you said, you know, one thing that your music said, I mean, one thing your bio says is, you know, our music just connects, and that's it. Like, there's no hidden agendas, there's no hidden messages, there's none of that, you know? We're a group, you know, that just basically, we live in the South. We just want to connect. You guys got great music. You got good music, more music to come, you know, and I just appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Seriously.
Gosh, well, thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank you very
much for
much.
having
Yeah,
us.
thanks
And-
for having us.
I mean,
It's
this
been great.
is fun, and like you said, like just as we close out, like I think that in times like this, we need music more than we ever did, because for whatever walk of life you are, whatever you're going through, and especially for those of us who are kind of feeling it kind of hard right now, we're turning to music as our solace and a way that we haven't had to in a long time. And so all of a sudden it gives what we do a little more importance, you know, because I like to say from the stage whenever we're at our shows is that, you know, for the time that you are in this room, whatever's going on out there is going on out there. It's what's going on right here in the room that matters. So for 45, 50 minutes, it's all about the music, because when the minute you walk out the doors, you're going to walk back out into all of the hassle of the real world, all of everything. But just, you know, if you can just bring it to the music, it's that blanket that wraps us up just for a little while.
Yeah. I
Keeps
like
us
that.
warm, you know.
Allison, thank you very much. Any last words?
No, I would just say thanks for having us out.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving us a spot and to
No,
let
for
us
sure.
share our music and our vision with the rest of Decatur and beyond.
Hey, listen, that means that as you create these new concoctions, I get first. I'm one of the first to get them.
Absolutely,
Okay.
you're first
That's
on
a
the list.
deal.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we even have a couple of CDs in the bag for you.
Okay. Cool.
So
Cool. I
yeah.
got a couple things.
I love
need to
when you
sign.
give us stuff.
Yeah.
we got some freebies for you guys.
Free stuff. I love free stuff. And any chance that we can get one more before we go?
You know what? I think there could be a chance that we could do
One more before we go.
do one more before we go. And
Yeah.
before we go, I want to give a shout out to my friend Nora, who was laying up in the hospital. She was supposed to be released tonight, and because the doctor was late making his rounds, he couldn't. She's stuck in the hospital.
She okay?
Oh, she's doing fine now. She's ready to go home. But
Okay.
so Nora, love you.
We love
This
you,
is for
Nora.
you.
And I don't even know you, Nora, but I love you, and I want you to. I
And
want
to-
you to get out of there really
And
quickly.
to my in-laws and my wife and all our fans and friends, who's ever listening to us, thanks for staying up past your bedtime.
Real quick, before we get into it, where can people find you?
You can find us all over the web. We're on collinsdrive.com. Obviously, we're on Collins Drive on Facebook. We are Collins Drive ATL on Instagram. I mean, I'm on
Twitter.
on Twitter. We're Collins Drive Band on Instagram. And
And where can they
yeah.
buy your music?
you can get our music from collinsdrive.bandcamp.com, but you can also just go to collinsdrive.com, and there's a link to our a web store
That's right.
where it'll take you to the Bandcamp site as well.
And you'll be able to catch them here on Decatur FM too as well. guys.
And we also have T-shirts and whatnot to sell too online as well. So
Okay.
you know.
All right, what are we gonna play?
what was he gonna say?
What's that?
We
Okay.
will be performing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, geez, see, he's good. And we're going to be playing on the 17th, actually, of November. at the Masquerade. We're making our debut at the Masquerade in Purgatory, opening up for Amigo the Devil, who is a he is a murder ballader. I know these names,
He's
man.
really good.
He's really good.
Okay. You should have started with he's really good first.
First, right.
Before you
Before the
told
name,
me.
right.
The name is off-putting. Yeah.
So if our boy Amigo's hearing this, so
Oh, that's
actually,
funny.
you know what? We should hook you up with a couple tickets so you can come out.
That's cool. I'm with it.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
We'll hook you up. We'll
I'm
hook
with
you
it.
up, get you to come out. So, what should we
You-
do?
You're not the only one, because I have been inviting people at work
Oh,
to
okay.
the show.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, so who else is going to be playing?
Okay.
So, Amigo the Devil.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, the what?
Never mind.
You're like it's a Christian band from Ontario.
I think my kid has something.
I can't wait to call my mother tomorrow.
Actually, when I told my mom who we were playing with, she was like, the look on her face was just priceless. She was like,
Huh?
Amigo the Devil.
Right.
I was like, yeah, and I showed her a picture of him. She goes, he looks like you, but he kind of does look like me. So so it's kind of funny.
That's hilarious. All right, so what are we playing before we close out?
That's what I'd like to
What
know.
do you think? What do you think? You know what? Well, why don't we do our version of I Wish I Could Run Away. I think
Okay.
that's a nice little. We've never done it this way, so.
All right, great. Here it is, guys. Last time, but not the last time. Last time tonight. The Unplugged, Collins Band
All right.
on Decatur FM.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Wish I could run away, leave it all behind. Sometimes I feel so trapped in this life of mine. Just another fool who tried to seize the day, tried to hold it in my grasp, but it got away. Now I'm hitching my way out of Saxophone, kicking stones to the muddy hall. Said, hey man, where you going? A young man asked of me. I said, just carry me out west and leave me be. Wish I could run away and leave it all behind. Sometimes I feel so trapped in this town of mine. Just another fool tried to seize the day. I tried to hitch my way to California, but no one was going my way. Guess I'll head back home and have a glass of tea. My guitar and whatever's left of me. Guess I'll close my eyes and dream myself away from this muddy old hard river where I lay.
was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, guys, for listening to Decatur FM. That's it for us for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. G,
Yes, sir.
it was great.
It was wonderful.
Guys, it was awesome. And
Thank you so much.
We will have you back tomorrow night, live in the studio. It's like we're doing music like all week, I feel. We got Ruby, Vell, and the Subphonics. They're going to be in here in the building. It's going to be awesome. So hopefully you guys can tune in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks a lot for listening to Decatur FM. Bye.
Follow us on Instagram at Decatur FM.